Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Monday, October 10th City Council meeting. We've got a great show for you tonight. Some really interesting votes to go on our regular agenda. And before we kick off tonight's entertainment for you, I ask you to join me in some mindfulness. I really wanted to start with saying I really appreciate all the feedback residents have given me about the mindfulness and how I've been starting these meetings, and I really appreciate that you like it. So with that, I welcome you into the council chambers and into your comfy office chair or couch at home if you are watching on YouTube. And if you can close your eyes or lower your gaze downward, pay attention to where you are and how you're nestled into your seat. And we will together get ready for this community meeting and come together as one in our present state of mind. So bring attention to how you're sitting, find a way to be relaxed. I always say, shake away the Mondays and bring attention to your breath and start taking some deeper breaths, exhaling. Go out. And exhale out. Blow out the Mondays. So give yourself permission to let go of your busy day and come present into our meeting space. You're all here to provide best direction, most thoughtful decisions that we can as your city council. And we do that together with our residents and business owners. Really happy that you are paying attention to what's going on in your local government and being part of making our community more welcoming and inclusive. And I'm thankful for your curiosity today and learning about how local government functions, and compassionate and thoughtful if anybody gives public comment today. So with that, I invite you to take one last breath and exhale. And I invite you to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up is roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem James.
Present.
Councilmember Leaks May.
Here.
Councilmember Mikulski.
Here.
Councilmember Polika.
Here.
And Mayor Piana.
Here. I wanted to say it's good to have you back, Councilwoman Mikulski. Next up is the approval of the agenda.
Mayor, I move to approve the agenda with the following amendment. To remove item 7C from the consent agenda, to return at a later date after some follow-up with some residents that have given some input.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem James and supported by Councilwoman Mikulski.
James.
Yes.
Mikulski.
Yes.
Leaks May.
Yes.
Polika.
Yes.
Piana.
Yes. All right, we have the approval of the agenda, and now we're moving on to presentation, and we have one presentation tonight. It is 4A, presentation announcing the Oakland County-sponsored gun buyback event being presented by Chief Emmy tonight. Welcome. It's good to see you.
Thank you and good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a brief presentation. This gun gun buyback program is also part of the consent agenda, as there is a interlocal agreement involved in it. So a couple months back, it was brought to we had conversations with County Commissioner Cavell, who is our representative. He expressed interest in trying to remove guns from the street that are committing crimes, particularly violent crime. We told him that we will be a partner, but our means financially were limited. So if the county could sponsor the event, we would be a willing participant or partner in the event. And several of the commissioners went back and they worked out an agreement to provide $5,000 to the city of Ferndale, marked for gift cards that we would give to anybody who was to bring forth a firearm, a functioning firearm. The agreement was to provide $100 for a handgun, $200 for a long gun, and $300 in gift cards for an assault rifle. I think this is a pretty lucrative payment for these types of programs, and we're looking forward to participating in it. Beyond that, there is going to be some staffing involved in that, and the county agreed to pay up to $2,500 in staffing costs for our department. So this is going to be a zero item budget-wise for the city of Ferndale, which we're pretty excited about. Over the last couple of months, there were some other agencies that jumped on board. Southfield, Lathrop Village, Berkeley, Royal Oak, Bloomfield Township, and I think that's it. So we were going to be doing this on Saturday, October 22nd at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We were going to do a drive-through type event in the City Hall parking lot. So we're not going to be asking anybody to exit their cars and handle the firearms. We're asking anybody, if they have any questions in advance, please call the Ferndale Police Department. Ask for anybody at dispatch should be able to answer this question, but if there's any questions, CEO Mollmeister would be happy to answer them. She will be working the event that day, along with a player to be named later as far as a firearms expert. But we're also told that there's been some questions about people bringing in ammunition. We're happy to take ammunition, but unfortunately we will not be giving gift cards for ammunition. The gift cards will be reserved for firearms. So I don't know if he made it today. Commissioner Cavell was expressed interest in speaking during this presentation, but maybe he was pulled in another direction. So the other events happening at the same time will be at St. David's Episcopal Church in Southfield, the Royal Oak Police Department, and the Auburn Hills Police Department, and we will be hosting our own event. Those other three locations are partnered events with other law enforcement agencies in their vicinity. We decided we had the ability to partner with Royal Oak, but we thought it was more advantageous to give an additional location, so we're going to be staffing that by ourselves down here in the south end. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions for you.
Through the chair, I'm just curious if someone wanted to participate but have a conflict during that time period, is there any option for them to reach out and schedule an alternative?
Absolutely, it's a great question, Councilmember James. If you contact Joan Mollmeister or my office, we will make arrangements where we will hold on to those gift cards unless they're needed at other locations. This is a while supplies last event. So if we have word that Southfield or another location is running a little short, we will take them some gift cards, but we plan on holding some in reserve just for that circumstance where they can't make it during that 10 to 2 window. We're happy to accommodate them either earlier in the day or making it by appointment after. It's important. It's keeping in spirit with the event is to get the weapons off the street. And we're willing to do that by appointment. We're not going to be very rigid.
you. And this question might be more appropriate for communications. Can you describe how we're getting the word out on this?
Yes, the city, I don't want to answer for Kara, but we're going to be working with our city comms department. The Oakland County Commission, their media has already started to spread the word. But obviously, we wanted to wait until our city council approved the event before we started advertising, on our end. But I don't want to assume anything at this point, but that's what we were waiting for,
Perfect. Great.
if that answers your question.
Yeah. And I appreciate that this is happening. This is something that residents ask about from time to time. So this is a nice example of ask and you shall receive. And I really appreciate the cooperation and collaboration with the county and other communities.
Absolutely. The Oakland County government is a steadfast partner, and we're very happy and willing to work with them whenever we can, whatever venture. The last time we did something like this was probably 15 years ago, that nobody remembers how it was or the numbers or what we paid, but it was quite a while ago. But we had discussed this. I know Councilman Polika had shown interest in this, and so we thought there was an opportunity for this partnership. So we're excited.
Sorry.
If I may, through the chair, I was just going to ask, and just maybe for some incentivizing and maybe some excitement, what kind of gift cards are going to be present? Are these like Visa gift cards so people can use them anywhere, or how are you going about that?
Yeah, it's an interesting evolution of how that worked out. And cash is kind of passé. Nobody really deals in cash anymore. The thought of gas cards came up because of the recent hike in gas prices. But in the end, it was kind of a consensus that Visa gift cards that were as good as cash could be used in any capacity and would probably be more helpful to most families.
Thank you.
Through the chair. So the process, you said that it would be a drive-through process. Are people expected to have their firearms in the trunk then, and then they'll remain in their car, have their trunk opened up, and at that point you'll inspect them? Just trying to understand the logistics of it.
Right, it's not as easy as it sounds, is it? We were going to put out some information on how to properly transport a firearm. The goal is to have it not handled by the occupant of the vehicle in the furthest passenger compartment of the vehicle, or the trunk, if that's an option. And they'll just provide their identification, and then we'll retrieve the weapon from the trunk or the back seat. We'll check it to see if it is a functioning real firearm, and then we'll give them a gift card on the spot, and hopefully we'll have people processed in and out in a matter of 5 minutes. That's the plan.
What if, are there going to be questions asked? If someone brings in a gun that has a filed off serial number, or a gun that wasn't necessarily registered to themselves, is that going to be investigated, or, like I said, is it no questions asked?
No, the only thing we're recording is just identification. We're not looking to pursue charges on anybody. We have some restrictions on our end by policy where we have to dispose of the gun through the Oakland County Sheriff's Department, which would include test firing to see if it was involved in any cases, cold cases, that type of thing. But we're not pursuing, we're just looking for a means to follow up questions in the unlikely event that occurs.
And in regards to the last time we did it, it was within the last 8 years or 9 years, because, yeah, because I was on council when we were doing a Ferndale Up event. We coincided with one of them, but it has been several years.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't remember the exact data.
That's it for me.
Great. I just wanted to express gratitude and thanks to County Commissioner Charlie Cavell for bringing this forward on behalf of our community and helping get that through Oakland County. And with that, there is a consent agenda item to approve the interlocal agreement, 7J, later in our consent agenda to move forward. But thank you for the presentation tonight.
Thank you, Council.
All right, we are moving on to call to council.
Audience.
Sorry, thank you. I read it and still said same thing. So we provide 30 minutes for residents to give feedback on anything on top of mind, whether it's on the agenda or off the agenda. And we ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes. And we have a wonderful little handy clock over here to help keep you mindful of the time. And Kara, our communications director, will be monitoring or starting and stopping the button. But we do ask that you be mindful of your comments, and sometimes people come, just be mindful, sometimes people come for the first time to council and do public speaking, and they may feel uncomfortable, and we're really trying to create a welcoming space and non-judgmental space for what anybody has to say. And then, please direct your comments to council and not staff, because staff take direction from city council. And it's really a good practice to talk about the issue at hand and not attack people. So it's easier to get to the heart of the matter if we understand what the issue is. So with that, I invite anybody up in the audience to speak on anything on top of mind for 3 minutes. More than welcome. Is there anybody eager in the audience? Hi there, welcome.
Good evening, Council. My name is Jared Rapp. I am one of the owners of Traverse City Whiskey Outpost on 22812 Woodward over on 9 Mile.
Hi there.
It's nice to see some of you again. The reason that I've come to call to council today is regarding the improvements on Woodward Avenue, and especially the smart bus shelter that sits in front of our patio. This bus shelter has been there pretty much since we've opened, not exactly in the same spot, but very near where it is. And during the course of COVID, we made some investments outside to allow people to sit outside with the patio, and we have had numerous issues with that patio. Been working with it, working on it. With seemingly everybody has been trying to help us. The DDA, the police department, the city management, the Chamber of Commerce, you name it. Because the issues that we have, people smoking in the bus shelter where they shouldn't be, but doing it throughout the day. It's right next to our patio. It's only 4 feet away from the patio, so the guests that are coming in from the patio are just leaving. We had some people that left and didn't pay. We've had over, I think, 25 calls to the police that we've had to have from people who, when it was either raining or if even on a nice day, people would come in and just sit at our tables because they're right next to the bus stop and refuse to leave, or they would use our building to store their baggage, or they would put their feet over the edge of our opening where our garage door is, which prevents us from opening the garage door and actually letting our guests inside experience outside. I don't know if you're familiar with our location at all, but we have only one window, and that is it. And if we don't have it up, we actually don't have very much light in the space at all. So, we've had on just far too many occasions had to keep it down. We've lost staff over it because it reduces traffic. There are many, many issues related to this. The police do a great job when they find people there that are still doing it, but sometimes it's only for a couple of minutes. They refuse to leave. We call the police, then they leave. The whole process repeats. I'm asking if there's anything that can be done to help us engage with SMART to see if there's some alternate location, a more appropriate location where this shelter can move. Perhaps not even very far away, but more than 4 feet. And if it was just maybe 15 feet, we would be able to reduce some of these issues. But it is literally only 4 feet. That is less than what I can reach, and it is a result of, it has resulted in people leaning in, coming in, placing in, and just doing all kinds of bizarre things throughout the day. I just saw it today, and my bartender just said to me, please, you have to do something. I said, I will go down there right now and say something. because we've just had far too many engagements about it. So I thank you for hearing me out, and I just ask that if there's anything that can be done to take this into consideration with the Woodward Avenue improvements, that, we please do so, and let me know how I can help be constructive with that.
I appreciate that, and I need to talk to our city manager and our staff about how to bring that issue. But what would be really helpful, even though you came to council, is if you could write a letter.
Okay?
I'm sorry to make you do this, but having a letter that goes to SMART and MDOT that is on record is most useful.
Okay?
And I request that you do that, and then we'll leverage that in some way to take it to SMART. It's an MDOT project, but it's a SMART asset. So we'll need to discuss how to figure this out with SMART. And it may not happen in a timely manner, so I just want to warn you.
I get that. We've been having conversations with this for years now, so.
But, I hear you, and we will try to do something around that. And I really appreciate our police department and our downtown authority of really trying to work through this with you.
We do as well.
Yeah, even though it's location, I also see it's an inadequate bus stop. It doesn't have the appropriate amenities for the people who are waiting for the bus there. This isn't about a bus, do you know what I mean?
You're completely right. It's not, it doesn't provide the right shelter, it doesn't approach in the right way. People have to come towards the street, away from the street to get out of it, as opposed to loading from the bus shelter into the bus. So you find a lot of traffic issues just related to the fact that it opens really inward, I guess, if you will. It's very bizarre, and I mean, we've had our fair share of, us going out and cleaning the bus stop, removing graffiti from the bus stop, shelter, whatever you want to call it. It's one of those things. So.
Well, I appreciate you taking care of the amenity, and that is something that I also encourage you to put in the letter.
Okay.
Hopefully
enough.
help you.
We will do that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, who would else like to come? All right, going once. Talk about the crunchy leaves on the sidewalk and all the pumpkins all around town. Oh, come on. All right, we'll leave that for later then. All right, see, please, come on up. Can you come to the microphone, please?
Of course. At the beginning, you said that 7C has been moved to a later time. I was just wondering what the appropriate format and time for comment on that would be.
Well, since we removed it from the agenda and it will be coming back at a later date, now is the appropriate time, and invite you to speak for 3 minutes.
Ah, okay. Well, thank you.
Thanks for coming up.
Yeah, so I spoke on this before at a previous meeting and kind of brought up a lot of just kind of basic facts about the topic, the Johns Hopkins studies, its usefulness for various psychological ailments that have been fairly well demonstrated in a lot of recent studies. I want to briefly share a more personal anecdote. I am a Michigan resident and resident of Ferndale for the last year, which has been fun and exciting because it's been the city in Metro Detroit I most want to live in. My lease will eventually be up, and I will be looking for a home this winter. I'm very impressed to see that several cities around the state have passed proposals have passed things such as these, decriminalizing or reducing the priority of enforcement for entheogenic plants and fungi. And I want to say my support for Ferndale following suit, both kind of as a ethical and public health access issue, and as a general, just person who loves Ferndale and would like to perhaps consider it for a permanent home when I do buy a house. And yeah, I guess we'll share the more personal part now. For the second half of my 20s was unfortunately rather shadowed by depression, and at this point, I feel like it's behind me, and I've successfully been able to deal with that, which is very exciting. But it took me a long time, and there were points in it where I wasn't sure if I'd, if or how I'd be able to fix it. And at some point in there, I took what I knew of the research, and I took what I had in terms of savings and vacation time and went to one of the few places where I could legally access the medicines that I thought would be most effective for solving it. And that was tremendously useful to me. I think it bought me like 6 months to a year of progress and kind of healing from depression. But that's not something that a lot of people can do. It was a little bit of a stretch for me resource-wise at the time, and I hope that Ferndale opens up the possibility that other people without the same sort of financial resources as I could help treat their own problems. It's neat because it's a place where instead of having to grant resources, it can just get out of the way and allow people to heal, and that would be very helpful.
Thank you for sharing your personal story with us. I know that's hard. All right, others? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to the consent agenda, and I'm going to read it, and I've reordered the numbers in the letters
Okay.
as I removed 7C. All right, 7A, approval of the September 26, 2022 meeting minutes. 7B, approval of the special event permit for Jingle and Mingo. 7C, approval of the rental loader for leaf season from Southeastern Equipment in the amount of $10,500. The expense charged to Sanitation Fund Contractual Services. 7D, approval of the resolution of the 2023 annual permit for work within the state trunk line right-of-way. 7E, approval of the agreement with South Oakland County Water Authority to provide as-needed assistance in remote monitoring of the Hilton Road Pump Station. 7F, approval of the MDNR Land and Water Conservation Fund Development Project Agreement and Resolution for the Wilson Park Walkways and Playground Improvement Project. 7G, approval to backfill 3 firefighter positions left open due to recent departures. And 7H, consideration of the city server upgrade by Macro Connect for a budgeted amount of $24,156.62. 7I, resolution recognizing Indigenous Peoples' Day, which is today. And 7J, approval of the interlocal agreement between Oakland County and the City of Ferndale for the Oakland County sponsored gun buyback program. And 7K, approval of the bills and payrolls as submitted by the City Manager's Office and subject to review by the Council Finance Committee. What is the pleasure of council?
Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Support.
Moved by Leaks May and supported by Polika.
Leaks May.
Yes.
Polika.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Mikulski.
Yes.
Piana.
Yes, all right, and consent agenda is approved unanimously, and now we're moving on to the regular agenda items, and the first one up is 8A, quarterly board and commission appointments, and Anthony, do you want to start rolling with that while I bring it up?
Yes, Mayor, we have several people that applied to be part of our boards and commissions. Mayor does the due diligence of taking great time and effort to interview and meet with and find good placements for everybody. And tonight we're bringing forward several people, and I think we might have some people in the audience tonight that are going to get appointed if they wish to say a word or two. Appreciate council's consideration.
Excellent. Tonight we have Susie Fisher to the Beautification Commission, Mercedes Tardella to the Arts and Cultural Commission, Zoe Baker to the Ferndale Accessible Inclusion Commission, Jess Minnick to the DDA Board, she's the owner of Sorry Not Goods, and reappointment of Matthew Riley to the FESC. Would there anybody here who'd like to make a comment if you're an appointee? Or say hello, introduce yourself? No pressure.
So I'm Susie Fisher, and I'm really very excited about finally getting to work with Ed.
We're very excited to have her.
So thank you.
Thank you for being a volunteer, Susie, and helping bring some joy to our community via the beautification. So thank you. Thanks, Ed. All right. With that, are there any questions or about any of these individuals?
I move to approve the appointments of Susie Fisher to the Beautification Commission, Mercedes Tardella to the Arts and Cultural Commission, Zoe Baker to the Ferndale Accessibility and Inclusion Commission, Jess Minnick to the DDA Board, and the reappointment of Matthew Riley to the FEFC Commission.
Support?
Moved by Polika, supported by Leaks May.
Polika.
Yes.
Leaks May.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Mikulski.
Yes.
Piana.
Yes. All right, and thank you to everybody for stepping up and volunteering. Almost all the progress in Ferndale seems to be resident-led and have input in, so thank you. All right, moving on to 8B is authorization of 4 replacement trucks from Suburban Ford of Ferndale at the expense of $230,000, yes.
Hi, Mayor and Council, good evening tonight. We are looking to continue on with our scheduled replacement of pickup trucks. This year we had budgeted to replace 4 trucks. The vehicles that we're looking to replace are a 2009 F-150, a 2007 F-150, and another 2007 F-150, and then an older retired police Ford Explorer Interceptor that we have repurposed over time for our project manager that works on the lead service line replacement program. Each one of these vehicles do meet our fleet management policies scheduled replacement in terms of years, while some also meet both years and miles for best practice for our vehicles. This is a bit of a different request than you have seen in the past. Really what we're looking to do is try and remain as flexible as possible without getting too flexible in terms of our ability to obtain new vehicles. Largely I say that because September of 2021, Council did approve the purchase of 4 new pickup trucks for us. Right now, we have received confirmation that 1 truck has been built, but we won't see it for delivery for a couple more months because it has to go get the body outfitted. And then the 3 F-250s that we ordered have not been built yet, but they do have a build date of October 31st of this year. So while the nice thing is our orders haven't been canceled, the tough thing is that it requires us to keep older, more rundown vehicles on the road. In turn, if more of your expensive repairs are needed, it does kind of force our hand into actually making those repairs and putting money into vehicles that really aren't worth it. So what we're looking to do with this request is we're looking to have the ability to purchase up to $230,000, which was budgeted from Suburban Ford of Ferndale, since they are a local Ford dealer. And we can, easily obtain F-250s and a couple F-150s like we're looking to purchase. They do have 1 F-150 on the lot. And I say the flexibility because going this route, we kind of have some options. If Suburban does get something into inventory that isn't already allocated, they can give us a call and say, hey, this came in inventory, it's as close to spec as what you are looking for, we can scoop that vehicle up. Or what we do have the ability to do is take a vehicle that someone ordered, it comes in, they decided they don't want it anymore. And then if it looks like we're going to be in a position of, with the F-250s, let's place an order. If for some reason something comes in before those orders do, we'd have the ability to take that off without really signing our life away on those vehicles. Where we don't have the same flexibility with Enterprise, like we've purchased our vehicles and long-term leased them in the past. So we're kind of just looking for some flexibility. Each vehicle does have a budget that was associated with it. Our plan is to stay within that budget. If we were to spend above the requested amount that we're asking to be authorized to spend, that would require us to come back to City Council. these trucks aren't getting a significant upfitting in terms of like dump bodies or snow plows and stuff like that. Really, the only upfitting going onto them is lighting. The additional green and amber exterior lighting, which all of our trucks have. And then that does allow us to kind of shuffle some vehicles around within our inventory, get rid of some vehicles that need to go, kind of have some spare vehicles that are older in tenure that aren't scheduled to be replaced for another year or two. So we're not putting as many hard miles on those. And then just kind of really get us into a good spot. I'm thinking that based on our scheduled replacements within the next couple of fiscal years, we'll have cycled through all the DPW's older light and medium duty vehicles in a couple years for the dump trucks, and then we really have put ourselves into a good position as long as we stay in line with our fleet management policy and keep up our replacements. So that's what we're asking tonight. The vehicles have been budgeted for purchase in the water fund, major and local roads, and sanitation as well. So none of these are general fund vehicles. They'll go based on where they spend the most time doing the work.
Thank you, Dan. Is there any questions from council on this purchase? Sure, go ahead.
So why now? And the reason I'm asking that is just because looking at the price tag on these and purchasing off the lot, it seems like this is well above MSRP. And I understand the need for flexibility, but is the flexibility so necessary? Do we think that there's imminent repairs that we're going to have to do that's going to be like $80,000-ish?
So the one thing we do have that we have with Ford is we have a fleet vehicle ID. It's the fleet equivalent to having an employee discount, sort of. So while, in a perfect world, we would like to get an XL, right? More so of a basic work truck. We have been putting on more of the safety related features, just to avoid the dings and the dents and so on. That's what we want to stay at, right? And, we do understand that going this route, it might be an XLT that, we need to take delivery of in order to take delivery. Will we rack up $80,000 in repairs? No. What we'll likely end up doing is if a price or repair does come along and we just won't make it, we'll probably scrap that vehicle out. Or if it does look like, we need to keep some of these vehicles on the road, you kind of bite that bullet and make that repair. We don't rack up the same dollars on our light and medium duty trucks as we do on our dump trucks. That repair bill may be a $16,000 repair bill to keep it on the road for another year while we wait for the replacement. And it's largely just the vehicle market today is not like it has been in the past where the supply is there. The demand's there, the supply's not necessarily there. So we're kind of just looking for some of that flexibility. And if it doesn't look like we're going to get that, we're going to place our orders for, our more basic work trucks. There's no intention to upping the trim package on these vehicles because it gets us less vehicle. And if we were to increase our trim packages on these trucks, we want to be able to replace 4 trucks. We'd be replacing 3 trucks. So we want to replace 4 trucks. Our intention is to try and obtain 2 F-150s and trying to obtain 2 F-250s as well. The flexibility is going to come in the fact if, while a regular cab would be nice for the F-250, if we were to get an extended cab, we can make that extended cab work. And it's allowing for that versus just, locking in for a regular cab, XL. The spot where we will typically draw the line is we've been trying to stay away from the Power Stroke diesel engines on the pickup trucks and staying towards the 6.2 liter gas engine. It's just less of a cost that's associated with them, and then you don't have the additional cost with the diesel exhaust fluid and so on.
Okay, that that kind of answers my question. So let me follow this up to make sure I'm understanding it. So for instance, with like the F-150, it's an F-150 XL, right?
This quote that's on here right now is an F-150 XLT. Suburban had an XLT on the lot, and they had an XL on the lot. We asked for quotes on both of them. They were both kind of pending sale. You know, they would give a call if a sale didn't go through, because they were both special order vehicles. You know, the XL went through, the XLT did not go through. The one thing with the XLT is it does have a V8 in it. We were looking for a V8 or a 3.5 liter EcoBoost, just because of the additional payload and towing capacity that that vehicle fits. Whereas the other F-150, you know, we're looking for the V6 or 2.7 liter V6. You know, that truck isn't going to take the wear and tear and abuse. It doesn't need the additional towing capacity. It just needs some payload capacity, 4-wheel drive, and so on. So it's really making sure that, hey, if you know, Suburban calls and they say, hey, we have an F-150 Platinum available, it's only $90,000, that, you know, hey, that's not the vehicle that we're looking for. It's a, you know, this basic trim package. And with these vehicles, we only need some necessities that come on them.
So is what you're saying that these are the wants, but if the price tag comes in a little bit under these budgets, that's a possibility, that this isn't like a hard number right now?
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay.
This is, you know, we are not expecting to spend more than $230,000. You know, that's what that ask is, because that's what's been budgeted. And if we're not, you know, what we'll probably do is when ordering opens up in November for the F-250, we'll place a couple orders for them, you know, exactly how we want them. If something comes in the meantime that fits our spec as to what it is that we're looking for, it's within our budget, you know, we want to be able to say, all right, you know, place that vehicle on hold for us, send us an invoice, we can process that, and go pick up the vehicle. Instead of, all right, it was the day of council when we got the phone call, it's 2 weeks out, I'll put a vehicle on this. You know, I have a pretty good idea that council's going to allow us to purchase this vehicle, you know, but there is that up to chance. And then, you know, because we're going this route, you know, we don't do a ton of business because we've been purchasing vehicles through Enterprise. So it is one where, you know, they don't have to sit on inventory for a month because of the current market. You know, they don't want to sit on inventory for a month. Well,
Thanks, Dan.
Through the chair, if I could offer some perspective. So as someone who works for Ford Motor Company, I can tell you that we are still experiencing the chip shortage. When it was at its worst, we were still building a lot of vehicles, particularly the pickup trucks, and they were sitting on lots. And when the chips were coming in, we were putting those chips in and then selling them, starting with pre-sales. You know, so those people. So you won't see a lot of vehicles available still even now on lots. Although we have gone through our back inventory, we still have the shortage. It's gotten better, but we are putting in these chips as they're being built, and we're only able to really produce enough vehicles to serve a good portion of the orders. So I'm not surprised that you ordered these vehicles a while back and they still haven't been built yet, because we're still building vehicles that were ordered way before we ordered them. A lot of the vehicles that you may see on lots, like Dan alluded to, is someone who ordered a vehicle and then decided they didn't want to buy it. So it was an order, you know, that was never fulfilled. Those are really rare. You don't see a lot of vehicles, especially pickup trucks, sitting on lots right now. In regards to pricing, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, we deal with a state certified price. So we're not like someone just going into the dealership and saying, I want this vehicle and this vehicle and that vehicle. They order it and then it comes in, and then, like you've heard with some dealers, they jack up the price with a higher MRSP. We have an established state price tag. Am I correct?
the state does have under their My Deal program, a contract with Gorno Ford, which I believe is down in Woodhaven for those vehicles. It's your base model vehicles. They have a price set. Anything additional to that price that you want to tack onto those vehicles, you're paying MSRP pricing on it for. Because Suburban is a local dealership right here in town, that's pretty much where we buy all our parts from for our Ford vehicles. We kind of thought it best to kind of do business locally versus go after the state deal. While we, may save a few thousand at the end of the day, we're kind of keeping some of the business local and dealing with Suburban Ford of Ferndale. So that's why we did choose to use them as the dealership to potentially purchase vehicles from.
I'm sorry, in this instance, is there an opportunity, since we are dealing with a limited product, to see if Gorno has anything available that we would want that may be less expensive in this instance?
Yeah, so when I was kind of putting this together, and is Suburban, it was mostly, all right, let's try Suburban, and I did give Gorno a call just to see, because if you were to go to a website today, you will see that Suburban Ford has 25 F-150s and they have 7 F-250s. You call them, they have 1 F-150 and all their F-250s are spoken for. So when I did call Gorno, they didn't have any of those available for us at that time. Suburban did have the one available, and instead of trying to buy from here, and here all over the state, figured it best to consolidate it with one dealership.
When do you expect these, if you order them, when do you expect them? Because you're already waiting for 4 more, so how long do you think you'll be waiting for a total of 8?
So we're hoping that the 550 that we have on order, that was built and is at a dealership to go to the equipment upfitter. Depending on what their schedules look like, they haven't given an update because they have not received the vehicle yet. We're hoping to see that vehicle, best case scenario, sometime in December. The F-250s currently have a build date of October 31st. Between those being built, going to the dealership, usually a couple weeks, but the equipment upfitting on those is not as extensive as the F-550. So, if you factor in the holiday season, I'm hoping January is realistic to see those vehicles. It's just kind of one of the unfortunate things that we're dealing with right now. We ordered these trucks as close to as soon as ordering is available. This year, for the most part, the ordering window for an F-250 is going to be, less than a week probably before those orders are made, those vehicles are filled. So it's just the interesting part of doing business right now in the auto market. But we do have some flexibility in the vehicle. For example, if it doesn't have brake assist on the front of the vehicle to stop from a collision, while it'd be nice on it, we can 100% live without that. So it's just like those little safety features that, we'll just look past so we can fill our fleet. Get rid of the old stuff that at some point in time is going to cost some money, and increase our miles per gallons across the board, and really be a bit more presentable in the community.
Thanks, Dan. Any more questions?
Just want to make sure that I heard, so if I may through the chair. The F-150 on the lot that is available from special order, did you say that's the one that would be ready in December? Because I'm thinking it's...
The quote that's attached to this agenda item is a special order vehicle that the customer decided not to take and is available.
Is available.
It is at Suburban right now. If this was approved, this is a vehicle that we would go and pick up and purchase from them. As an additional F-150 became available, or the F-250s, if they fit our specifications, we'd have them send us an invoice, we'd process a check like we normally would, That would get sent out, following council approval, on the, city manager bills and payroll. And then we could just say, all right, we can get you a check in 2 weeks versus, it could be 3 or 4 if we're continuously, coming back for an approval. So I understand that this is, a bit of a different request than pretty much anything we've ever brought forth in the past. And it's largely a response to the market conditions. I do fully understand that there is a bit of a gamble in us not just placing orders and waiting, and understanding that we may give a little bit up in order to just move on, get our fleet replaced, and move forward. But it could be the very chance where we order the F-150 and we order 2 F-250s and we wait for 6, 7, 8 months. That's 100% a possibility. But if something comes available, and we can swap something out, having that flexibility would be nice.
Through the chair, in order to increase your flexibility and maybe give us an opportunity to get something for an even better deal, what do you think about amending the suggested actions so that it's not limited to suburban Ford?
I personally would not have a problem with that at all. But I also understand kind of the gray area of a blanket request to spend $230,000 and purchase something that we're not even showing you what exactly it is that we're purchasing. So for some, level of transparency, chose not to go that route. So that, all right, we're going to spend this money, in the city of Ferndale with a local dealership that does have a decent network of dealers. So, it could be Suburban Ford of Ferndale, or they could have something come available in their Romeo location. So, that was something that we took into consideration. If council does choose to do so, and allow us that additional flexibility, we would be fine with that.
Through the chair, I too would be a little bit more comfortable with that. What did you call it, Greg? It was state certified pricing?
Yeah. That's what I call it. I mean, there's a formal name to it, but
If we could pursue something that was state certified pricing so that we could bring our costs down to what would feel like a more reasonable number, even if we're looking outside of the city of Ferndale, I would be very comfortable with it. Just to, again, provide you flexibility.
No, absolutely.
through the chair, the issue that you have, though, is that there probably won't be very many vehicles just sitting on lots waiting to be purchased. Even at Gorno, if someone ordered a vehicle, they're going to still price it based on what was ordered for that vehicle, as opposed to vehicles that are built solely for sitting on a lot looking for someone to come and buy it. Generally, those are the ones that end up on the state certified pricing, is that what? When you start special ordering, I don't know what that kind of plays into in regards to when someone else has ordered it. If we order it through that program, we're going to get the discount. If Joe Smith orders something and it's a special order, we're going to end up having to pay the ticket price because it didn't go through that state program.
Yeah, basically correct.
Regardless of the dealership, if Gorno, if Joe Smith orders it from Gorno and then decides not to buy it, even if it matches everything that the state program offers, they're still going to charge us the ticket price, the sticker price, because that's what was ordered originally. Because if we don't buy it, they know that someone else will buy it.
Yeah, the only thing that would really change is your month-to-month incentives. Just like if you were to order a vehicle today, Ford has X, Y, and Z incentives going on. When that vehicle comes in, let's say in April, you're kind of going to work off the incentives available at that given time. So it's definitely not ideal. It's largely let's see if dealing with the dealership gives us some flexibility and potentially getting first dibs on something that comes in that someone doesn't want, or, something makes it onto the lot, just backfilling some inventory, that would work out for us, and then we kind of have an opportunity to replace something sooner.
Through the chair, obviously, we've had conversations with Suburban Ford. Did they make any promise to us that they're going to hold that vehicle? Because I'm honestly surprised that it hasn't already sold. So I'm assuming that there's a conversation saying, well, hold this for us while we have council, review this for a vote.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the form of a refundable deposit.
Yeah, so we made a deposit on it, asked them to hold it, and now if we don't, and we call them tomorrow, I can guarantee you it's going to be gone off the lot tomorrow afternoon.
May I ask, Councilman Mikulski has made a fiscal argument saying that if we wait, we can save money. I haven't heard how much. I think you said $2,000.
Yeah, it's roughly maybe $1,000 or $2,000 a vehicle. That's, that's us ordering like for like, right? We will spend a bit more on an XLT. Like, this truck, if we were to build it, would probably be about $4,000 less. Because we could put the XL on it, it doesn't have the XLT trim package on it.
Right, so the cost could be lower, depending on, right? But you've put this forward to have flexibility in purchasing because the supply chain is messed up and you still don't have your vehicles from a year and a half ago, a year ago. 3 vehicles, and considering that they're 2009, and we have a policy of not being 10 years over replacement, and so all of the vehicles are 2009 and 2007. So we're really at 12 years, 13 years. So I'm of the opinion, I'm okay of approving this and adding flexibility because the market has shifted and you are trying, here's what I'm saying, is I support buy local, and I also support having some flexibility in a time where things are different.
Well, and through the chair, if I may add, the other issue is these, like you said, these vehicles are old, and if a transmission drops on one of the existing vehicles, we're not only looking at like $8,000 to make the repair, but now you're down a vehicle that we were counting on through this period because it's so old. And would we want to drop $8,000 on a 12-year-old vehicle?
Yeah, we're at the
to get
risk
it in
point.
working order?
We're at a risk point where we could spend more than we save.
Yeah, and
in my opinion.
And these ones don't have the lowest amount of miles on them because they've been around, because they are the lighter duty vehicles. So we're 90, 100,000 miles on a couple of them, and those are hard city miles. There's a lot of stop and go miles associated with those. It's not like our old salt trucks that are 35,000 miles, 40,000 miles. These ones actually kind of surprised me a bit with the number of miles because the last vehicle we took to council was a dump truck, and we usually don't see those. So I was like, oh wow, we actually put over 100,000 miles on this truck. But it's largely trying to be as efficient as possible with the repair costs and stuff like that. Let's say a major repair like a transmission, it would be we'll scrap this truck.
And we've had to do that before.
If I may, through the chair, so with the flexibility, and I'm fine with that if that's good, more convenient for you all to do what you need to do. Will that delay your time frame though? I mean, I don't know what your time frame is as far as, so if you're going through the flexibility, it won't? You don't believe that it will?
If anything, it might speed it up.
Might speed it up.
Because if something comes available before an order comes in, we're likely going to need to place some orders for some F-250s. If anything, it might speed it up by a couple months.
Okay.
That's really it.
I appreciate your situation. I can't imagine you're the only DPW director dealing with this challenge of vehicle replacement for city fleet in a time of a supply chain that's messed up. So I appreciate you trying to be creative here, which is what staff has done for the last 2.5 years. navigating the ins and outs of the pandemic and impact of it all. Still
Yeah.
ongoing.
No, I appreciate that. I guess will say, we don't have intention in financing these vehicles. So some of the savings that we will see on these is in form of the interest. That would be on $200,000 that, we'll probably see a 4% interest rate on something like
Chair,
this.
could I ask one more question?
Sure.
Are we trading in the old vehicles or auctioning them or anything like that?
Nope. I'll ask if they'll take them on a trade-in. I doubt it, to be honest with you. So we'll probably just publicly auction them off like we typically do. These 4 vehicles that we want to replace are not something that we're going to repurpose. They will be completely leaving our fleet.
All right, well, we need a motion to proceed.
Sorry, through the chair. When you say auction it off, you're actually saying the public auction that we do with the police department, correct? That auction, or do
We use a
send
public
them out
auction
to-
site to auction our vehicles off. We
Okay.
typically don't join in with the impounded vehicles that the PD deals with.
Okay, so it is completely separate, okay.
All right, we need a motion to proceed.
I'm going to take a crack at adjusting the suggested action slightly and move to approve the purchase of 4 replacement pickup trucks as described in the memo attached to the agenda from dealerships at the DPW director's discretion. Estimated expense of up to $230,000 as submitted by the DPW director.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem James and Councilwoman Mikulski.
James,
Yes.
Mikulski,
Yes.
Leaks May,
Yes.
Polaka,
Yes,
Yana.
Yes, thank you. Dan, I hope you get trucks soon.
Oh, as do we. Thank you.
So, all right, next up is 8C is the consideration of the agreement of the local fiscal recovery fund distribution between Oakland County and the city of Ferndale for infrastructure planning, and presenting that tonight is our assistant city manager, Kyle Paulette, and our finance director, Phil. And who
No,
else?
on this one, it is DPW director.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. I'm assuming 8C, 8D, sorry. Wrong introducers. So Dan, welcome back.
Yes, thank you. So tonight before you, council, it's the consideration of an agreement for local fiscal recovery fund distribution between Oakland County Water Resources Commission and the city of Ferndale. I think in the spring, Oakland County announced this grant that they would fund some planning and asset management related activities for communities with some of their ARPA funds. It just so happens that we also had plans, some plans that are required by the state, the EPA, some other work that we want to do that we had previously budgeted for, that was approved by council during the last budget cycle. So we figured it would be a good opportunity for us to apply for this grant because it was for up to $100,000. We were able to put that $100,000 together based on what we've had budgeted, some of the work that we need to get done. So we applied for the grant. We were awarded the grant. Before you tonight is the funding agreement for that grant. So we are asking for approval and for permission for the DPW director to sign that agreement. So what we thought would be a good idea to submit in terms of project scope for this grant were some upcoming plans that we have to do. First one being, an additional round of a drinking water revolving loan fund project plan, very similar to the one that we put together with this previous current round of funding that we have for lead service line replacements. It's our intent that that's going to be coming up in probably like 6 months to apply for another loan so we can continue on the heavy-handedness of our service line replacements. The second is updating our water reliability study and our water asset management plan updates, largely two plans that are governed by the Safe Drinking Water Act that we submit to the APA. Those plans need updating. They're at that time in their life within this budget cycle. We also have some sewer system CCTV that we plan to be doing as part of identifying our next round of sewer lining work that we needed to complete, but we could offset some of those costs with this grant. The additional item would be, some water service line verifications. We are doing a fair amount of that, but we could just take these match dollars from WRC instead of spending down on our drinking water revolving loan fund. $30,000 doesn't seem that much, but we could roughly verify 350 lead service lines with that $30,000, which also doesn't seem like a lot of money. That's just what the cost is. And then one of the things that we did with budget is threw some dollars at stormwater management, just kind of earmarked, not knowing exactly what we wanted to do with those dollars. So we did budget some of those funds in this fiscal year. I think it might be a good idea for us to actually do a sewer system capacity analysis. Really looking at some of the areas that we've had documented issues with some of our heavier rainfall events, and see if we can actually get some data on those. Make sure that we don't need to kind of make a pivot in future years towards upsizing or helping us really identify a systematic approach in terms of how are we going to get the best bang for our buck in terms of green infrastructure, or just to help make more well-informed decisions. It's something that we haven't done in a very long time. Even if we did something 20 years ago, with the higher intensity rainfall events, it's a good thing to take advantage of at this time if we're going to have some matching dollars in order to do so. So really, between these items, we budgeted funding these plans fully in the water sewer fund. This would allow us to just match 50% of those plans with Oakland County. So after we spend those dollars, we'll submit for reimbursement on these. So tonight it's really approval of the grant award agreement if council chooses, and then if they do so, we'll recognize some revenues during our quarterly budget adjustments. And with that, I'll take questions.
Through the chair, it's hard for me to not comment on it. You're speaking my language, because sewer systems are my passion. I'm curious, however, whether you've heard any inkling as to whether or not there might be dollars available for implementation, once we've assessed our sewer system capacity and, done some planning around green infrastructure and so forth, dollars for making those improvements happen.
So at some point in time, there will be dollars. In terms of the larger projects, from what I've heard, some of the biggest forms of dollars are going to come in additional funding to the states for loans. So they can continue on with their kind of below market interest rates for those dollars. Maybe include some additional forgiveness to overburdened communities. In that form, we will see funding come available for, helping implement this project or that specific project. If I think you might be talking about something that's on a larger scale. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but, we're really going to see those dollars in additional funding available to states to enact their, or kick down, whether it's their drinking water revolving loan fund, their state drinking water fund and so on to make more of those dollars available. Just the tough thing right now is that everyone wants those dollars. We will see an increase in those applications. That's something that we will see when we submit for another round of funding for lead service line replacements. So just hoping that if those dollars are available, that we can meet the points on the grant and score higher. In addition to, the nice thing about those grants, if we have plans like this in place, we've done some stuff related to green infrastructure as well. If we have those plans on the shelf, most of these grants want to see some plan that we can pull off the shelf that's shovel ready. So if we do have some of these items available, some information that can help us make that case as to why the city of Ferndale is deserving, score those points, we are in a better position of potentially getting some of those dollars that are match dollars. I would love non-match dollars and just free money, but we live in America, so.
And through the chair, this is less of a question and more of a comment. But I think the SEMCOG is working toward lobbying for that on the state level and federal level as well. So this is my pitch to residents that even though this is a unsexy topic, to the extent that you can contact your legislators, both on the state and federal level, and let them know that water infrastructure is something that communities need major investment in, and we need the help of the state and the federal government in the form of not just low interest loans and matching funds, but grants that don't require a match as well, because I know you're taking advantage of every possible grant and loan and measure to get us moving in the right direction, but more is needed statewide.
Absolutely.
I made through the chair, so just, can you share the grant, the local match is coming from where?
It would come from a combination of capital outlay in the water sewer fund and contractual services. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what the percent split is on that, but that's what we budgeted for. That the water system cleaning and assessment, we asked for $60,000 because that we wanted to get the grant, but we're likely we budgeted $340,000 to complete that work, so it'll just help offset those costs a little bit. But they've both been budgeted and are in our budget, right now or in future fiscal years to perform this work, because I think off the top of my head, we will have until December 31st of 2023 to spend these funds down. And I'm sure if for some reason we needed an extension, we could ask and likely get an extension to spend those funds.
Seeing no more questions, we need a motion.
I move to approve the agreement for local fiscal recovery fund distribution between Oakland County and the city of Ferndale for infrastructure planning with a local match of $100,000 and authorize the DPW director to sign the agreement as submitted by the DPW director.
Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem James and supported by Polika.
James.
Yes.
Polika.
Yes.
Leaks May.
Yes.
Mikulski.
Yes.
Piana.
Yes, and that is approved unanimously. And I just wanted to say, express my appreciation to Mayor Pro Tem James for leading legislatively on sewer infrastructure. It's not the sexy topic, but it makes modern living possible. And so I just wanted to say thank you for continuing that effort and representing Ferndale on SEMCOG and regional committees. So,
Mind if I say something on that?
sure.
So, I want to let folks know that there is a survey that SEMCOG is conducting right now on water infrastructure, seeking community input. It's a long URL, unfortunately, But I urge anyone who's interested in this topic and wants to voice their opinion on this topic to look at cobaltcommunityresearch.org/water.html. cobaltcommunityresearch.org/water.html. Again, this is a survey being conducted by SEMCOG. I've been trying all day to find out if there's a deadline on this survey, because I know, speaking for myself, having a deadline gives me a sense of urgency of when to get things done. But I know they've been circulating it for about 2 weeks, so I would say try to take this survey within a week or two to give your opinion about water infrastructure needs in our region.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. All right, we are now moving on to the final item on the regular agenda, 8D, approval of the use of ARPA funds to offset fiscal year 2022 general fund deficit. And now is the time for our Assistant City Manager, Kyle Paulette, and our Finance Director to introduce this item and walk us through what's going on. Council's already had quite a bit of discussion about this with our city manager, with the community, and in other meetings. So I appreciate you walking us through this again.
Thank
Here we
you.
are.
Mayor, I'll allow Phil time.
Thanks. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. As you stated, we are requesting the use of ARPA funds to offset the deficit that is anticipated for the general fund. Based on our preliminary review of the financial statements for fiscal year ended 22, we are looking at approximately $395,000 shortfall. That's based on revenues that we just simply have not recovered from yet. Most notably, parking and court are the two main culprits. But also, we did some expenditures this year that also contributed towards that deficit, which was the pension catch-up, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. We did a pension catch-up in May of 2022, which also impacted the bottom line number of $395. And so at this time, we are requesting the use of those ARPA funds to keep the general fund intact and not have to dip into those funds. And so with most of our revenue, about 20% of it is based on fines and fees. And most of that comes from parking in the court. And due to just us not returning back to full throttle after the pandemic, we're slowly turning the corner. But FY22 was not reflective of that. And so that is kind of where we stand now. And one of the eligible uses of the ARPA funding was to make sure that local governments were able to withstand the response and of the impact of COVID, with people not being outside, people not spending money, people not going anywhere. And so this is one of the costs that we are looking to use for ARPA.
If I may, through the chair. Regarding the request for this amount, so can you just share with us, and I don't know if this is the 22% here, is that the 22% where what we need to make the general fund whole as far as what's a safe percentage to be at?
22% is just kind of typically what we bring in for the general fund from fines and fees. So that's where the 22% comes from.
So what are we at now at general fund, and where do we need to be?
Well, we really should be at, as far as the overall general fund, because what you're talking about, the fines and forfeitures are just, that's what the 22% is. And so property tax brings up almost the other 80%. We have other fees and revenues that come from CED or from municipal parking and other places like that. But the 22% is strictly for what we capture from fines and fees. And so the bulk of the city's revenue comes from property taxes.
Through the chair, I think what Councilwoman Leaks May was alluding to was the fund balance. That we currently have a fund balance.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Councilwoman. And
Proceed.
you're wondering why we're just not taking it out of the fund balance to balance the budget. Is that what I'm understanding?
I'm saying, is this something that needs to be done, or could it be done a different way? This is just my question.
The only other way would be to reduce the general fund balance.
Yeah, so that's what I was asked. What alternatives
Right.
are there to cover this cost? And what, I think I just heard you say it was just general fund to cover
Correct.
the cost,
Right,
right?
correct.
So very limited in what we can do in terms of the general fund.
Right.
And the ARPA, if we expend this ARPA funds, how much is left out of our allocation? Because I know.
Approximately 1.5.
1.5, because I know
Correct.
we're still waiting on grant for a fire truck, but I don't think that's going to work out, and we might need to buy a fire truck.
That's
with
correct.
our ARPA funds.
We currently have 1.5 available. After tonight, if passed, we'll have $1.1 million.
Of remaining ARPA funds, is that what you're,
Yeah.
okay.
Actually, no, that's not correct.
Oh,
The 1.5 would be inclusive if this body approves the 395 use of ARPA funds. We received 2.1 in total. We've spent 176,000 on Meridian barricades through ARPA funds, and then we've also spent, we did a down payment on ambulance.
yep.
That was it. So this 395 would take us to 560, which still would leave us 1.5 available for ARPA.
Yeah, I was counting the ambulance and.
Oh, well, if you put the ambulance in there, we would put us up by 1.1.
Okay.
The full amount, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, okay. So, but we're still kind of waiting on that, right? We put the order in, but,
For the ambulance, I know we're still waiting on AFG. It should have ended, I think the end of September, but they were talking about extending the award notifications through October. That hasn't happened yet. We still haven't heard anything about the AFG award. So that was what we were hoping was
and is
paid
that a
for.
federal grant award?
Yes.
Might be waiting longer, so. All right, well, you know, I'm glad that we have the ARPA funds to use. It's a one-time, you know, rabbit out of the hat to close the gaps, but that's why it was formed. And I know that we have ongoing conversations about court policy and fine policy, which is a priority for this council to help figure out. So what we monitor, and the next budget amendment is when?
The next meeting.
Next meeting, right?
Yes.
So, you know, looking at how does this get us to the end of the fiscal year, and what is, hopefully this is the end of the deficit in terms of fines area, because we don't
Well,
have
the
a
one thing I can
deficit in any
say
other category.
is that I know parking, when this body approved the increase in rates a few months back, that did impact the revenues that they're showing now, as well as the court is inching up as far as their revenue capture, but they still need a little nudge.
Through the chair, if I could, I hope I am not speaking out of turn. But this body has in the past asked our police department to issue more warnings than tickets. That a lot of the people in our community have said, you know, we ticket too much. And my understanding is our police department has taken that and has been doing more warnings than issuing tickets, which ultimately affects how much income comes in. So this is a kind of a catch-22. You know, we're doing more warnings so that people aren't having to pay bills, but we also impact our bottom line and the money that we're able to spend.
Yeah, thank you for giving sort of the backstory on the policy. I wrapped it up into the policy realm of the header of that, but that's sort of what we're talking about. And my understanding is the police, we sort of did it for more equitable policing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Not because we just want to reframe
Yeah.
your.
Yeah, and I
what
didn't
you
want,
said.
yeah, thank you. I didn't want to come across as saying, well, you asked us for this, and this is what you get. We asked you for this, and this is, you know, this is a result. I mean, it's what happens. Not that it's bad, it's just, we have to face that this was a result.
Through the chair, if I can just add it's sort of part of a broader statewide problem.
Yes.
Of having district courts tied into municipal budgets
Absolutely.
creates sort of this conflict between, some councils, some municipalities might direct their police and court to increase and raise revenues, which often is off of the backs of the most disadvantaged and poorest populations in our communities. And I actually look at it as somewhat of a success that we're taking money from the general fund and actually giving it to the court, which is providing a lot of services and trying to divert people out of the criminal justice system, including, they have a full-time social worker. They're doing a lot of affordability assessments to try and housing support, to try and reduce the amounts of fines and fees that people might otherwise be subjected to. So I know from my perspective, sitting at this table, I would not want to be telling the police or the courts to raise revenues. If anything, here's another thing that you can talk to your legislators about to sort of disentangle district court funding from municipalities so that, councils aren't in this position of, trying to work through how to fund the courts without putting that burden on disadvantaged people going through the courts.
Well said, Mayor Pro Tem, and I think this council has been thoughtful and about how do we shift these policies when, and I'm using the high-level term here to describe the fine system and whatnot, in a state structure that we can't change on our own. But ultimately, we're responsible for balancing our budget, and so we're figuring it out as we go. And the ARPA is the one-time rabbit in the hat gift to council, but real solutions still need to be worked on as part of advocating for state change as well. Are there any other questions? Just to reiterate, the council did receive an update about the deficit as part of our budget. We've talked about this before in front of public at other council meetings, and so I appreciate this is finally here. So with that, is there...
And I would just add, it's my understanding that throughout the course of the last quarter, this anticipated figure has actually gone down.
Yes.
Yes.
Through your work.
Yes.
Which we appreciate.
Yeah,
That's right.
I think it was at 500.
Yeah.
So you've made it,
Well, we still have, like, when Joe first came to me and asked me to kind of give him a number, I let him know, I was like, we're still going through year-end adjustments for audit. And so I told him then, I said, it was probably going to go down. Not a lot, but it's going to go down some. And so we still have some work to do because the official audit just started today. And so there'll probably be some other adjustments. The number won't go up. It may potentially go down below the 395.
I like that statement, so.
Okay.
Find that money.
All right, appreciate your due diligence. Thank you.
Thank you.
We need a motion to proceed.
I move to approve the request to utilize American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds in the amount of $395,481 to offset the general fund deficit as submitted by the finance director.
Moved by Polika and supported by Mikulski.
Polika.
Yes.
Mikulski.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Leaksmay.
Yes.
Piana.
Yes. All right, and now we're moving on to call to council, one of the last items on the agenda, and starting with the assistant city manager to get some department updates. So take it away.
Well, we will start with Emmanuel Johnson and Carson Reck.
Good to see you, Emmanuel.
Good to see you too. Good evening, Mayor and Council. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Good, good. So just a few quick updates from Parks and Recreation. Since we last saw you guys, we had our Fall Festival take place on October 1st. I was not able to attend personally, but I hear that it was a big success. We want to thank several people, several departments, several organizations that were able to assist us in continuing to make Fall Fest a success and continuing to make it bigger and better year after year. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but we've been adding activities a little bit at a time every single year. So this year was one of the biggest that we've ever done. That could not be accomplished without people from DPW, fire, police, volunteers throughout the city, our communications department. We want to thank everybody for their assistance in helping us put the event on. We also want to give a big shout out to our premium sponsors, which were the Garlic and Artichoke Foundation, Jim Schaefer and Associates, and Vibe Credit Union. So thank you to everybody that helped us to make it successful, and the community had a great time. The surveys came back, everything was positive, and I'm generally happy. We also want to announce that we have worked with Ferndale Public Schools to form a teen advisory board. This board will have its first meeting tomorrow. It's made up of Ferndale Public Schools students. They will be advising us on teen-related issues and giving their input on Parks and Recreation program and how are some of the ways that we can incorporate them into some of the things that we're doing. Teens are an area that our department is currently, I don't want to say lacking, but we're less than serviceable to that demographic, and that's something we're trying to improve. This board is the first step in that process. We'll give you updates as that goes along. And we also want to announce that we will be opening our office at Incubizo to the public on Monday, once we get everything in order in the actual office space. You can come to the Incubizo office at 1938 Burdette Street, which is right down the street from here, and you'll be able to conduct any, you'll be able to conduct any Parks and Recreation business that you need to with us. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't call us. You can still call us, you can still email us, you can still do all the things that you have been doing during the pandemic in order to reach us and conduct business. But if you want to come in and see a person and conduct face-to-face transactions, that's something you could do at our offices there, whether it's a dog park fob that you need to get or register for an event, whatever it is. And the office is open Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And that's it.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to say I'm sorry I missed the Fall Festival. I got sick, so for 5-6 days, so didn't leave the house. But saw a lot of great postings on social media.
Next, Mayor, we have Dan and Tossick, DPW.
I bet you're going to talk about leaf pickup. I predict.
That I am. Unfortunately, I had to give you a preview of that last council meeting. But October 24th does start leaf season. Communications did a really good job on putting together like an updated graphic of the map that we used last year. The city is broken out into 3 different sections on the west side and the east side. We will be putting out some signages in terms of, no parking on the street, so we can do a more thorough of a job and get those leaves off. But, that'll start October 24th for the entire city, and we'll be rolling into like the first full week of December in terms of pickups. So, the big reminder is out in the street, it's just leaves. It's not bagged leaves. If you do choose the bag leaves, please put those in a labeled yard waste container or some of the brown yard waste bags. Please try and refrain from placing sticks, dirt, and so on out with the leaves. That just does some unneeded additional wear and tear on the machinery and so on. So that's all I have tonight, Council.
Thank you.
And we'll finish up with Fire Chief Robinson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So today is actually the start of Fire Prevention Week, even though we try to do the activities dialed up through the whole month of October. So just a reminder for the community to be cognizant of that. Check your smoke detectors, make sure the batteries work. If they're beeping, don't just take the battery out and ignore them. And challenge for the whole community and all of you is to make sure you develop a fire escape plan for your home. And that's so important. We will be down there at Pig and Whiskey, and usually we have our tent set up with giveaways, and people have to kind of work for them this time. So we're going to try to make people have to show some fire safety education to get some goodies. We are still, this is our final week of accepting applications for a couple of positions we still have open. So we have some great applicants that I hope to pan out, but I'd love to get a few more. So if you know anybody, get the information, get them to apply before the 14th. And the final thing is, you guys probably remember me talking about before the stair climb, our little wager we had with the Hazel Park Fire Department. We kind of lost. So they're cashing in on their bet, and on October 23rd, I will be in a dunk tank. So a nice balmy late October day. But it will be raising money for breast cancer, so feel free to come out, support, throw some balls, dunk me in the water, or wait till Chief Story gets in there and dunk him. I don't know. But I will be starting it off. So it'll be at Hazel Park's Fire Department Open House on the 23rd from 11 to 1. But again, it's raising money for a great cause, so I don't mind owning up on that end of the bet because it's for a good reason. That's all I got.
Thank you.
That's it, Mayor.
Excellent, thank you. And tonight I'm going to start with council updates with Councilman Kowski. Just go right to left.
Just big thanks to Parks and Rec on a wonderful fall festival. My daughter and I had a fantastic time, so much so that I need to swing by the office and pick up her water bottle that she left there. Thank you very much for recovering that. And I also wanted to give a shout out to our zero waste manager, Claire Dion. She co-hosted a community conversation with me just about 2 weeks ago, which will be up on the YouTube channel soon. So thank you very much. That's it for me.
Thanks for doing those.
Oh, all right. So I have to do this. Shout out to the Ferndale School Marching Band, win number 2. We're going in. We're trying for it. And also, earlier today, we approved, we acknowledged the resolution for it being Indigenous Peoples' Day. And I just wanted to share something that we typically say at each council meeting, and I'd like to say it now if I could. So, the Ferndale City Council recognizes the people who have come before us and acknowledges the Anishinaabe, Peoria, and Miyamaya tribes on those traditional lands that we gather. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and say that. Other than that, happy fall, and I wish everyone a good evening.
Next Monday, there is a special council meeting at 6 p.m. in council chambers where the facilities task force that has been working for months, back March, April, May, June, July, August, putting together a report that will be presented to council at that time. So it is a public meeting. If anybody wants to come to hear the report, you can do so at the time. I do not know, I think it's going to be at 6 o'clock. I believe it's going to be televised on the YouTube channel, so it will be available for view even if you can't make the meeting. But I'm looking forward to the presentation that the task force will present. They've done a lot of really, really hard work and had to make a lot of difficult decisions. That's it.
Thank you. I look forward to reading the report. And then finally, I just wanted to say 2 interesting things coming up for some of us on council. One, next week is the Michigan Municipal League's annual conference, and I think there's a couple staff going, including Joe, but I'm going with Councilwoman Leaks May, who's on the board of the Michigan Municipal League, and I am the ghost of presidents past, where they allow past presidents to go to board meetings, so we will start our journey there on the 18th, and just a reminder that the MML, we take vacation time, we take PTO time to go and learn how to be, learn issues about cities and network and become better decision makers on behalf of you. And I really look forward to this year's program and look forward to catching up with you. And I don't remember, anybody else going? I know we approved the thing a while back of us going. We all go at various times. There's 2 major MML things a year. And then I am really excited to, share an interesting invitation I got. I'm really excited by it, and I was kind of astounded that I got invited, but I've been invited to the White House on Wednesday, October 12th, to support talking about communities in action, building a better Michigan, and how the Biden administration and the recent investments in communities across the United States, but particularly Michigan. This is a Michigan Day from 8:30 to 12:30, and they've asked for my participation among other community leaders. I've never been invited before. I don't know how I got on a list. But I guess when the White House calls, you go, and it's a whirlwind, fly in one night and fly out the next day. But I'm really excited that I get to champion Ferndale in front of the president and his staff and all the wonderful things that we're doing. And I don't think I would have been asked if we as a team were not doing great work, and we are doing great work. And so I am so excited to represent city staff and all the wonderful things that you've been doing and all of the community support we've had and the investments we've made to make our community better. And whether it's ARPA funds for lead lines or sewer replacement and other investments. So you're going to be seeing a little bit of social media from me because, oh my God, it's White House. So with that, thank you everybody for participating tonight, and I hope you have a wonderful